Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Copa Tejas show, hosted this time by your good friends here at Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa, one of the co-hosts of the show, and accompanying me today, we've got Harry Austin from the San Antonio, Texas Roundtable. We've got Steve Arders from Copa Tejas, and Elvis from the Three Birds Boldcast. How y'all going doing,
I'm Irving,
everybody?
actually.
Say again.
Irving.
Irving, sorry.
I'm Irving, actually. How you
How's it
good?
going,
Good. How
Irving?
y'all doing?
Going good.
Pretty good. Man.
How's the
So
quarantine?
the
How's the quarantine treating y'all?
pre-kid with kids or without kids?
I guess
Because
depending on the
working full time
circumstances.
at home, school at home, 24/7 under a house is not fun. I'll just say here. So when you get the little moments like this, it's awesome to be able to do. Like me and my wife, we just went and hopped in the car and drove around for a half hour just to have some peace and quiet. But it's better be safe and sorry, and of course stay at home and follow the rules that for that here, just so that way you're not affecting your family, but also more important, affecting others.
So I've got the 15-page list of all the things you were supposed to be doing when you get around to it, especially a lot of garage cleaning and all of that stuff. So I've been, I'm 3 weeks into that and making significant progress. I'm happy to report.
Awesome. No, man, just really for me and my wife, man, we're still working, man. So, and like I said, it's like some days not long hours, some days, but other days, man, it's a lot of work. So, thankfully, still working, man. So that's pretty much it. I guess only the weekends is when I actually, you're quarantined. There's nothing to do. It's not as much as most people, who are like Harry said, like every day. But I can totally understand just those 2 days, like not being able to go nowhere is, and besides grocery shopping. But other than that, man, yeah, it's different. Guess you could
Yeah,
say.
we're still working too, thankfully. But I'm doing it here pretty much out of my home office. But Suzanne is still commuting occasionally.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
we're both working at home, so yeah, I got the upstairs in the room, and she's downstairs with the kids. So we had to take away the Xboxes because they didn't want to listen anymore, and we're like, all right, I'll take the Xboxes. No, you won't, Dad. Boom, they were gone.
Oh no! Oh no! That hurts me a little on the inside hearing that because it reminds
But
me
it
of my
has to be
childhood.
done, though.
It has to be done. It has to be
If
done.
you say no, Dad, you won't do it. I gave him a little warning. I was like, really, that's what you're going to answer with? And then, yeah, Dad, you won't do it. You won't do
Are
it.
you
Boom.
challenging me?
They were in the middle of a
Yeah.
game and just, no, Daddy.
Wow.
Oh no, even worse.
No,
In the middle of
no
the
way,
game.
man.
What about my friends? And like the one thing I got to say is the good thing about it is it still keeps that social aspect of it because they've developed a couple of friendships online.
Mhm.
One in particular with Kansas, a guy in Kansas that AJ and Anna talked to, their brother sister combo as well. So they're like, well, was my friend list gone? I was like, no, it's just unplugged. It'll still be there when you get it back.
So personally, I was able to as soon as I found out at work that I was going to be doing home office, and this was before the actual stay home order happened in Harris County. I was able to head down to the Rio Grande Valley. I'm with my parents right now, spending the quarantine. I mean, I know it's difficult, to transition to something that's completely different. Your way of living, your on your day by day basis, changes completely all of a sudden. But I honestly think that as long as everybody works together into making sure that you don't go out there, you don't if you don't have to, and to keep flattening the curve, we should hopefully
No.
we be out of this sooner than later. And going on with this particular topic regarding the COVID-19 suspension, as we all know, this is something that has affected us directly. Whether it's not with the podcast or just being able to go out there and enjoy a weekend of watching your favorite team. play in the USL season. What are your thoughts? Because there's been a lot of speculation going on in these last couple of days. We've heard people saying in the Athletic that there was a meeting with team owners, and I kind of touched up a little bit before we started about where most of the owners said, hey, you know what, if push comes to shove, we'd rather just end the season right here and there, because it's cheaper for us to end it than having to play it behind closed doors. But first of all, before I get your opinion on that, what is y'all's personal opinion? Should this season continue on without fans, or should we follow the route of the Eris DVCA, where they just cancel the season for 2020? And I'll go ahead and start with Harry.
So my heart wants them to play. And like I said here, I guess it would kind of depend on the budgets, because you're hearing from owners that it'll cost them, if they just shut the season down now, they're out only the one game and stuff through that, where if they reset up the season, depending on what the season looks like. And I think that's really kind of the question here is, what would the season be like? You've already seen rumors where it's going to be more centralized, with, divisions instead of, the full conference for that here. And it just, I think some teams are better equipped than others. Like I think San Antonio's pretty well, just because, from my understanding, the price of Toyota Field's not anything that's going to set them back. And player expenses, I think player expenses for the teams, I think that's not a concern. I think it's the stadiums and being able to get access to that. And then if you have the stadiums, depending on how much that cost is, do you want an empty stadium? And let's be honest, we don't have a big TV contract. Even MLS, which doesn't have a huge one, is dwarfs ours, tremendously. So is it more money out of the pocket of the owners? And to me, the one question that I would like to see is if the league, kind of steps in, because they, the owners, was it Papadakis? If they could step in, because they've been collecting, the expansion fees that have continued to go up, if maybe they would kind of help support, support the teams, or, especially the ones that are maybe small budget, along those lines. Go ahead, Steve.
So I think whatever finally is decided, we really don't know all of the different options that they are proposing. My personal opinion is they are going to look at all the different options, obviously always with the health and safety of teams, fans, all of that, before they make any final decisions, and they should, of course. So depending on whatever is decided, I think that they're going to look at everything that they possibly can come up with, any kind of solution, before they finally pull the plug on the season. If the season does go away, yeah, we're all going to be sad. But if that's what happens, it's what's going to happen. To me, and the way that, as you guys know, everything changes with government leaders and thought processes in the different governors and mayors and city councils in all of the different cities. So you have all of these decisions being made equal on parallel paths in real time. So it's so hard to project what might happen. But as we were talking right before we started, you have to look at all the different markets, and it's obviously whatever solution they come up with has to work in all of the different markets at the same time. And is that perhaps a bridge too far? I don't know. Maybe it is.
No, definitely. I mean, I think I agree with all of that. And of course, like Harry said, I would like, of course, you would love to see them play, and a little bit of part of me would actually also be like, let them play behind closed doors, because I mean, I can't speak for the team themselves, the players, but I'm sure they still want to compete, even if it is behind closed doors. I think, some of them, I think, would still like to actually compete. But yeah, like you said, Steve, it had to be something that works for everybody. Like if some teams can't continue, if like Harry's saying they're losing too much money, well then, it's not fair to everybody. Let's go ahead and shut this thing down and, start again when we can.
And
How about you? What do you think?
I honestly, I think, I think I agree with all of you saying that we would love to see, the teams back in action. We miss going to the stadium, watching the team play, but at the same time, you look at it from the outside looking in and you think, what, this is going to be hurtful, for spectators if they decide to open it all the way. Or even let's put it this way, like even with the players, because a lot of these teams, they don't have their own charter flights, so they're going,
right. Yeah.
so they're going to the airports in commercial flights, and you have no idea, for as much as they try to do some sort of preventative measures for to figure out if somebody is sick or not. When you have asymptomatic people that have the virus but show no symptoms, no fever or nothing like that, and they're in there in the same airplane as your players, you're risking the integrity of everybody, not just the players, but also coaches, front office staff, or anybody who's going to be traveling with the team at the same time. So you look at it that way. We still have not really flattened the curve. The end is still not in sight with this pandemic. So at this point, like, do you really want to risk everybody around? Every one of your players, every one of your who put in money to pay these players. You don't. So at the end of the day, even if you decide going on closed doors, you might not put the fans at risk, but you're putting your players, I don't like to call it this way, but you're putting your product at risk.
Well, you are putting the product at risk. There's no question about that.
From contracting this virus. So at this point in time, I say just axe it. If it comes to a point where the scheduling is going to be difficult to, pardon the redundancy, schedule, just axe it and wait until the 2021 season. I don't know how the contracts are going to work. I think that's my biggest question. If the 2020 season is axed, how is this going to affect the players' contracts?
The players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Look
Steve.
who it is. Look who decided to join.
How's it going, Elvis? Odyssey, I got it right.
He's got us on mute.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve.
Elvis, can you hear us? Elvis is in the house. All right. So, Edson, just to follow up on your point. So, is with all those things considered. Hey. So, just to finish the thought, with all those things considered, maybe it is going to be a Rubik's Cube that they can't get figured out. Mm-hmm. But the health and safety of everybody is clearly something that you have to always have foremost in your mind. And if erring on the side of too much caution is what they finally decide to do, then that's what needs to happen. So we'll see. Let me ask you
how
guys,
much.
Let me ask you a quick question. So, assuming that there are discussions going on about how they may reinstate, what do you think is a date that they would need to come back to be able to put some semblance of a season together, whatever that might be?
For me, it depends on if they're willing to flip the calendar. If they're willing to go more to the FIFA calendar, then I think that opens it up. But if they're going to try to play it where it's done by November, when I think most contracts end, yeah, I think you're looking at July, 4th of July weekend. I don't know if you can really go much later than that, because you figure they're going to have a whole camp right now. They've been off I know they're still practicing and they're professional players. but there's a difference between working out at home and in the gym or in your house and actually working on the field with with everybody. So I think July 4th is that cutoff time. And then my follow-up question to you guys on that here is, do you think USL will take the lead from MLS, or do you think they're completely separate? Because I not necessarily playing together, but I don't think if MLS plays, I think that's a sign that USL will play. But if MLS is not if MLS is not playing, I don't see USL playing at all either.
I
That
honestly
could
don't
be
see that.
that you don't.
I see USL trying to take the lead if MLS decides to exit. I feel like maybe USL might take the lead to. I guess they want to try new things out. We've heard it from Jake Edwards being open to trying out new things, trying out promotion relegation within Championship and USL League One, which we know it's never going to happen with MLS. So if they make an analysis and say that it can be possible to switch the schedule around, it can be possible to be able to allow the teams to travel without or while minimizing the exposure to the coronavirus. I feel like maybe they might be onto something. I think that right now Jake Edwards is at a point where he kind of wants to distance the USL a little bit apart, little by little, from MLS. A lot of people see it like, oh, well, MLS controls what USL does. While Jake Edwards, with what he's talked about in various interviews that he's done with shows around the USL, seems like his ideas of how he wants to run USL from here on forward, seems like he does want to make some sort of distance between USL and MLS. At least that's the way I see it.
I don't know. You'd have to think that if MLS were to pull the plug on the season, I don't know what USL, whether they would still go forward themselves. Might be a bold move if they did. So, but that's the thing. We don't have anything to base decision, what really opinions on, because nobody's ever done anything like this before. Number one, and number two is the health issue is such an overriding factor here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, just as sports in general, I think everybody's kind of waiting for which league's going to do it first. Is either going to announce no, they're going to be no games, or is they're going to shut this down. So, but I think I agree with pretty much with all of it. Like I was thinking with Harry when I saw over the messages on our Twitter thing, and I saw topics that we could talk about, and this one was one of those. I started thinking about that. And I started looking at my phone and all that, and seeing what date would be the best. If it were to happen, if they were even
Right.
if it were possible. And like Harry said, man, 4th of July weekend was the one that I thought would probably be the best. I think it's 15 games from there, So maybe condense the schedules, maybe just, maybe from here on, maybe just go out towards the west, try to stay, I guess, West Coast a little bit, try to, minimize the travel. But, but like I said before, who knows? It all depends if it works out for all the other teams out there, not just what team we support, I guess. So
yeah, I think nobody wants to be that league that ends up, nobody wants a bad PR move is what I always think of it. Nobody wants to be the win, like, well, those guys decided to do it and look how disastrous that was. It's nobody wants to be those people, but
Right.
I mean, I think USL would be a lot easier to do it, but at the same time hard, because let's be real, there's not as many fans going to these games, and I think they wouldn't be as hard pressed to play without fans. But then again, could they afford that, the travel and everything else, without tickets being sold and concessions and everything else? And I don't know, here in Texas, it's not as terrible with with the coronavirus, but I mean, I don't know how the other states are doing. I don't know if they're freaking out more than we are. So down here, we said, hell, we could have Copa Tejas all day long, every week. It probably wouldn't be that terrible, but I don't know how everybody else is doing. I know, out west, I mean, I guess California is pretty bad, but, Arizona and, Colorado and all that, I would think that they're pretty good. I got a couple of buddies in Colorado that act like it ain't no big deal, but I think we'd have to get all those other teams to, like, I guess everyone that you were saying would be playing in the other states out here where kind of like MLB's doing, and just trying to keep it just centered one place at a time. But I don't know if USL actually has the money or would want to do that anyway to begin with.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point with regards to, the scheduling with regionalization. I don't remember, it was Jeff Reuters that tweeted this out, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, regarding that the USL was looking, if they do come back, to divide each conference into different divisions and just play those divisions against each other, and then the winners of those divisions going into the USL playoffs. I don't know if that might be feasible, or it would be more of a headache than what it actually solves. So that's another idea that's been thrown around these last couple of weeks. So I don't know what you'll think about that. If that might be another good idea, or
Yeah. Is it a good idea is the question, I guess.
Yeah,
Good
Yeah.
question,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be a good idea, but I mean, I think it all revolves around money, I guess, how and
Just
profitable
want to
that
get out
would be, something like that.
that is.
yeah, and you know what? You can actually here's the way I think it, and like I said before, like, I think we shouldn't play this at all, depending on how bad this gets. But if
Yeah.
this were to happen, I think we can combine the regionalization of the conferences, and then combine it with each individual division, or each individual division might play all their games in a certain city, whereas to limit the amount of traveling that the teams have to go in order to fulfill the schedule. I think that might be a feasible solution if we were to go in this route. You wouldn't have a lot of teams, crammed up in one single market. But at the same time, the ones that do travel don't have to travel back, don't have to travel really far away, like going from the Rio Grande Valley all the way to Tacoma, Washington, or Portland to play, those two teams. I think, and that'll keep costs down for the teams, especially the ones that may not have as big of a budget in order to be able to accommodate these flash travels.
Here's kind of an outside the box idea. What if they did kind of like a Champions League type setup, kind of like they did with the Rocket League, where you had little pods, you play, real regional in your pods, and then, as you, winners or top two, however you want to do it, advance out. Because, if you play an abbreviated schedule, the season's already kind of a wash. It's not a traditional season. So if you're going to do that, just to be able to get games in, to be able to kind of, get your brand out there, because that's really what they're trying to do, is get the brand out there, get the game out there, get players action, so that way they can get some growth and stuff. To me, I wonder if that's possibly a better solution than trying to force, a league schedule. The only problem I see with that is you're not, you guarantee a certain number of games, but real few compared to, a more regionalized thing. But that's something that I could think that, if you are looking, let's say Labor Day to November, I could see maybe that being kind of one of those last minute outside the box ideas.
So a World Cup style kind of format.
Yeah. Which you've seen proposed on Twitter. I've seen a lot of different formats and ideas on social media about what they possibly could do, and that's one of them.
But who knows?
Yeah.
But I do have a question here before we get too far. because last time we had Danielle on from Copa Tejas, one half of the founders, she took, from my understanding, some liberties on explaining how Copa Tejas started here. So I do believe we should give Steve the opportunity to offer a rebuttal before we get too far, into the discussion. That way, it's not last minute.
Yeah, well, and it's been a while. I don't remember some of the things she said. I'll share with you after that night. She sent a messenger message to me that said something along the lines of, I may have taken some liberties with the facts, and in the process, I may have kind of thrown you under the bus, but maybe. So I looked at it and said, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll just watch and see what it is." As far as her recollection on how it all started, that's all true. I had been thinking about it for some time when the other two markets came in, El Paso and Austin, and you had 4 and you had a round robin and all of that. Absolutely. I called her and said, "Hey, I'm thinking of something, similar to the Cascadia Cup. What do you think? Could we put something together?" And it all kind of went from there. So Copa Tejas was the name selected after a long process. And we developed the social media. She put the website together. I wrote the release that went out, and we did interviews and all of that. So all of that was fine. I will tell you one thing, Harry, that you may remember. It came up that what the rules and regs that the organizing committee put together of what not to drink out of it, and queso was brought up. I think I can find the email where that is Danielle's suggestion. Okay, she totally tagged me with that. No. I wouldn't even have thought of that. But no, listen, we have a great time with it. We both work. We've got personal lives and all of that. But with the help of everybody else, it grew faster than we could even have imagined the first year, and we were really looking forward to the second year. And I'm sure whenever the new normal is put together, whether it's this year or next year, that the Copa Tejas will continue to grow and prosper and all of that. And we're really looking forward to it. I do also remember there was a discussion of travel. And yes, this year we already had travel dates, both in the Valley and El Paso. And one of the things that I also recall her saying was, besides being extremely security conscious, that I had a carrying case that you could put a Ford F-150 in. Listen, that carrying case, SA Shoe and Luggage Repair donated that to us. It was great. Is it a little oversized? Yeah, it is. But when we fly out to El Paso, hey, we can check that on Southwest, and it's all going to be good. So
yes, you do have to make the trip down to RGV, because I will tell you that I've heard from more than one individual that RGV is waiting to be able to get their hands on it, and like the people at I-35 there, the two on the
absolutely was planned on the books.
Yeah,
RGV,
just
Austin,
last week here, yeah,
and El Paso, and all things being equal, what we wanted to do was make those trips earlier in the season. Kind of under the theme was going to be Copa Chaos. Everybody fighting for the title. So now, for us personally, one of the things that we really want to see, and I know you guys want to see too, is if the schedule is reinstated, is there a Copa Tejas result that can come out of it if the season is reinstated? If it's not, obviously.
The only team that would be, I think it would be in question, would be El Paso, if because El Paso is kind of on that line where it depends on how centralized they go. You could see them in a pod with Colorado, New Mexico, Phoenix, along the kind of that Southwest. But they are in Texas. Even though I call them in New Mexico South because they're in the Mountain Time Zone for that here. So, but that would be the only thing that I can see, because if there is going to be a regionalization, you can bet Oklahoma City, Austin, San Antonio, RGV, Tulsa, those are going to be all in the mix. The question is in my opinion, is El Paso out thrown into that as well?
Well, just to throw out one thing that Danielle and I really want to do whenever we're back in season and Copa Tejas is playing again, is the tailgates and the camaraderie and everybody of the different supporters groups and the fans and the groups of fans getting together. The first year was great, how it was growing, and we're really looking forward to continuing that in the future.
What were some of the things that you felt? Because I know we asked this to Danielle last time, but in your opinion, what were some of the things that can be improved for? It could have been this season or just in the future for Copa Tejas.
Oh, I think there's a lot of things that merchandise is one thing that could be in the individual markets, number one. And number two, I think Copa Tejas games, the tailgates beforehand, I think we can plan and make those as big as possible so that's everybody is looking forward to that. The supporters groups, the fans, the front offices, and even the casual fans. I mean, from the front office perspective, that's something where Copa Tejas could be a great marketing tool, is that it's something where everybody gets involved. And so when you have casual fans that maybe you're only coming once a month, those Copa Tejas games may be ones that they really want to come out in. And one thing I'll tell you guys, when we were traveling around the first year, and I got a lot of texts, a lot of emails and other things from the different supporters groups and fans of the four Copa Tejas teams, the main theme was that they followed the other Copa Tejas games more than they'd ever done in the past. They said in the past they never really watched the other Texas USL, but they were not only watching the other Copa Tejas teams, but they were scouting them. They wanted to know exactly how they were doing in the standings and all of that. So that's, just out of the first year, that's a really cool development.
Y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about Copa Tejas before we move on to another topic?
I think we're good.
I'll just tell you that Harry won't touch the trophy for fear of jinxing it.
No, it's exactly right. Yeah,
Dude,
don't
you
touch the
laugh. I checked in on the
Yep.
SAFC lap on the Rocket League thing, and the kid got blown out. So I didn't check in today. He got third place. So it's like the Stanley Cup. You don't touch it.
I know. So I'm exempt, right? I can touch it.
Hey, like they say, it's only crazy if it doesn't work, Harry.
Yeah, right.
It's funny though, because the day last season, the day the South Texas Derby was in San Antonio, I took a picture holding the cup, and I think I think I jinxed them against the.
I remember that. I remember that because I think we were taking the pictures of you.
Yes, you did. And I actually got flack from Stampede members. Like after we lost against Austin, they were like, "You jinxed us! You jinxed us!" I'm like,
That's hilarious.
Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just saying that it took a while for them to kind of stop giving me flack about it, but
Now they got Rocket League to give you flack about.
Let's not talk about that.
Oh.
That's pretty cool. You got to represent your team, man. That's awesome. So kudos to you on that. Here, I know it wasn't the result you wanted, but
Yeah.
I would give anything to represent my team. So, moving on from that, what's the next topic there, Edson?
So I think one of the things that I do want to bring up before we go on, moving outside of USL, is how do you all feel the USL has handled this unwanted off season in regards to marketing, in regards to the outreach that they continue to have, and even if y'all want to talk about y'all's individual teams, it's Austin, San Antonio. What have us at RGV? What have you seen from the continuous outreach towards the community, where it's social media or any other outlets?
We'll start with Austin. Let's go with you guys first.
I think USL handled it the only way they could, shutting it down. So you really can't, bag them for any of that. When it comes to our own club, the thing that I feel bad is this is pretty much the last year that, Austin FC isn't going to be playing, so this would be a good year to, after that good head start we had, we could, build momentum on that. And it kind of sucks that this happened. So now on social media, you're just seeing a whole bunch of Austin FC stuff now. And it's hard at this point for us to kind of throw our name out there because the league just isn't happening. So that's kind of a punch in the gut for us. At least I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it a lot tougher to, continue on the momentum that we had. I mean, it was pretty nice, and it was a good little turnout first game of the season, and I was hoping it would grow from there. Me and Irvin were talking about it. Well, first game of the season, good little turnout. Hopefully we get the wheels turning again and, get the name out again and all that good stuff. But,
$2 beer night going.
Screech and Holt, man. It's kind of tough because, I mean, you're from Austin American States, man. They're just pumping out Austin FC articles right now. They're loving every bit of it, And
Well, they were. Did you see there was a massive layoff at the Statesman today?
yeah, there was a massive layoff at the Statesman. I wanted to say something cheeky, but I was like, that's not. You can't make fun of people for losing their jobs. So
No. We're all sorry to see that happen.
Yeah, but
One thing that I did know, and like I said, I have a couple of friends that I talked to that are in the soccer industry up in the Austin area. They did mention that the Bold was doing a lot more. They had expanded from the first year to more South Austin, where Austin FC hadn't gone down, especially down to the Kyle area. So yeah, you're right. It is, to me, this is a real disappointing, start for Mr. Epstein and the Bold to be able to see if you can kind of bring in, that area that's not being recruited by Austin FC to be able to try to develop it and get those fans in, because at some point Austin FC is going to turn south and they're going to come all the way down to SAFC. Or San Antonio. I'm fully aware of that MLS thinks this is one market.
Yeah.
To me, this is a missed opportunity, not only for you guys, but I also think for SAFC. The taste in the mouth from last year, you could see the first game attendance wasn't as great as it was. I do think the team that they have on the field this year is much better, and I think as the season would have progressed, I think you would have seen the stands come back and build that excitement. And I've been saying this for since Austin FC was announced here, before Austin FC starts, both the Bold, SAFC, and even counting MLS, Houston and FC Dallas, they've got to put that earmark in to be able to attract the average fans here in Texas, because we all know that the new kid on the block typically shines a little bit more, even if they don't necessarily deserve it.
Especially nowadays, everybody likes something new and fresh. So everybody's gonna be going up there looking for IPAs or whatever, whatever they're gonna do. So, but now, man, like Elvis said, definitely. We saw firsthand. You see it was just just the layoffs that that Bobby had to hand out, man. That alone right there, that's a gut punch right there. But of course, I'm not. We don't work for him. I have no idea what the finances are, and maybe that was just something he had to do. You know what I mean? All his money is in. A lot of his money is in that racetrack, and having people come out and watch events, whether it be football, but concerts, races. Like there's a lot of money that is being lost, man. So I can't say anything about him having to lay off people. I mean, I don't know the situation, but yeah, it sucks because there was momentum going. It is what it is. I mean, I think that to me personally, I've always thought that those 2,500 to 3,000 people that actually do go to Bold games. I think you're gonna have those people. What you're trying to do is get that casual fan. You know what I mean? get him in the door. So yeah, like Elvis says, lost opportunities for sure.
Yeah,
Not just for
Harry,
them, but all over, all over the USL.
yeah, Harry, you're right on that. Where I think where we messed up was the fact that we did focus on North Austin, and that's where the majority of Austin FC's are gonna fans are gonna be. And so me and Irvin, kind of kept on nudging, like, dude, you gotta go to East Austin Southeast because I mean that's where most of your fans are gonna come from. And I know you want to I don't want to turn this to anything else, but I know what demographic you want. I'm sorry, you're out in East Austin. You ain't gonna get that. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get the highfalutins up in North Austin. Like Urban said, the IPAs. You're not gonna get that. And so yeah, it was. Yeah, but you're right on that. We needed to take care of Kyle. Maynard, out in Bastrop, all those guys would have.
Which they were doing, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Well, they're
year
starting to do this off season. Yeah.
In this season, in which, man, I like this season would have been great, and we would have started hopefully getting all those. Since they're starting the season, trying to get those exact fans.
Plus the roster moves I thought they made too during the off season, and were some pretty good moves I thought, man, especially for so the start was going to be important, and yeah, being derailed by all this is what it is, though. I guess you just keep it going.
Steve,
What
what's your
about
thoughts about Steve? What about your thoughts about SAFC? Because I want to start Edson's because I think RGV's done really well, but we'll start with SAFC here, Steve.
Yeah, I think SAFC's done great. I think Preston and Luis have done everything they can. I think the front office has done everything they can, and to me is SAFC first game beating the defending champion in Real Monarchs and playing as well as they did. And you heard Alan Marcina say afterwards that they were pleased, but yet there's still growth to happen. So it's ended on a great note for us and the fan base, and we can't, we would love to get started if it works out again.
Yeah. So for me, like I said here, I got two thoughts. One for SAFC. Initially, I thought the break was going to be great because Pirano would have been able to miss only one game as opposed to the 3, 4, 5 games that he might have missed, where I expect him to come back fully healthy.
Right.
I know Jose Gallegos has got a lot of, pop and press here, even recently here from his play. So like Luis and Preston are doing, a great job, as well as with the rest of the staff. I know the season ticket guys, I get a call from, Danny every month or so saying, hey, are you all right? Everything's cool. We're trying to get back on the pitch. So I think they're doing everything that they can. I will say, though, the team that, and I think this is probably one of the tops in USL, has been RGV with Mr. Patel coming in from New Mexico United. And I know Edson can go into a lot more details, but to me, just, what they've stepped up with their social media game, it's on par, if not in some cases, maybe a little bit better than SAFC's, recently with some of the fan interactions that they're having.
You blasphemous person, you.
Well, I just talk about just with the fan interactions. And like I said, this is nothing against Preston, Luis, and anything like that. And I know it's different markets. But, like RGV has had season ticket, Zoom events like this with players and coaches and stuff like that. And I think that's that interactions that's important. And I know Edson can go into a lot more details on this.
It is.
But I think that was the missing piece with RGV, with them being a 2 team. It finally seems like that Mr. Patel is trying to make it, Edinburgh's team or the Valley's team on here for the first time in 4 or 5 years or however long that they've been here. But.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much before Ron Patel came into the team as its acting president, the social media was almost non-existent for RGV. In fact, I did kind of put them on blast, in the
couple of times.
Yeah, even this year, and they improved. With Ron Patel, he's one of those kind of people where they're open to any kind of feedback, whether it's positive, but especially negative, because they want to know how they can improve. They improved their coverage, of the team, how they were doing during preseason. That was one of the things that I kind of blasted them. Was like, hey, the fans want to know how well the team is doing. Who they have to look out for as the season, gets nearer. The season opener. And in their first match in preseason, it was like almost non-existent. And I kind of put them on blast for it. And the next match, I believe it was against Austin, they did a heck of a better job. They came to me and they asked, "Hey, do you want to help coordinate a FIFA 20 tournament with the fans?" Sure. Right now, they're just finishing up the finals for the PS4 tournament right now. That's why I'm kind of looking at my phone because, I'm being sent messages on Discord like, "Hey, what do I do now?" And I want this result. So, kind of being, and they've also started with this whole Toros and Takeout Saturdays. Where they replay a match against the team they were supposed to be going up against in the original 2020 USL schedule. I know tomorrow it's going to be against Colorado Springs Switchbacks. And, I've seen a lot more Toros fans, throwing in feedback, talking more about the team on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. So, all of that really is helping, making people get hyped up about the team. And actually, I think the biggest part of it is making it seem that this team is actually our team here in the Rio Grande Valley. That this isn't just Houston Dynamo's satellite team. Like, this is our team, and we should be proud of it. And I think Ron Patel has done a hell of a job. There's a lot more to improve, obviously, and this break really isn't helping. Keeping up, some sort of momentum like with on the pitch. But the fact that they're bringing in, the players closer to the fans, getting to know them at a more personal level, who they are. Another thing that I felt was missing with the team. I think once USL gets back, I think this is going to hopefully light up a spark in the RGVFC fan base from here on out.
So let me jump in. El Paso is not represented. I think that I saw a news conference. Harry, we know their GM, Andrew Forrest, great guy. Know him from the Scorpions days here in San Antonio, and saw him at a news conference early on with the coaching staff. They do a great job of promoting their players, and so I'm sure that they were going to do even more than they were able to do in the first season too. So all four.
Yeah, El Paso done a great job.
Yeah,
I agree with they're on par. There's no issues with that. And then with Sirius Loco and Eighth Notch, they've also
Eighth
kept
Notch,
up their
Sirius
presence.
Loco, they're fans, they're growing, and they do a great job on social media. So shout out to them.
So I think overall, I think we kind of realized that all of our teams have so far have done a decent job, if not more than just decent. Trying to keep the momentum going in with the fan base to continue to talk about each other's teams, even when there's no actual soccer going on. Whether and I think also another thing that helped, I think, has been the EUSL Rocket League tournament that the USL decided to do, with the fact that each individual team continued to promote, their team brand in a way through the virtual arena, you might call it. So I think that was another good call by the USL during this break. I have one final topic that has nothing to do with the USL. It is US soccer related, but doesn't really have the USL unless anybody else has something that they want to talk about before we go on.
We can do it in the third show.
All right, excellent. So there's news that happened a couple of days ago regarding the developmental academy by U.S. Soccer. So we all know U.S. Soccer decided to terminate the developmental academy program for boys and for girls. Um, then a couple hours, I think it was like a couple hours later, MLS decided, hey, we're starting a youth program of our own. Um, how has this? I don't know if you all have made contact with people within y'all's teams academies, but how do you think this is going to affect the USL academies?
Hmm.
I think for San Antonio, I guess it kind of depends on what MLS is doing. Because MLS has said that they want to invite other outside top quality academies, and I think SAFC is in a position where they're probably considered one of those with what they're turning out.
Mhm.
I've also know that Jake Edwards has stated that they're going to be starting the USL Academy League next year
Mhm.
for that here. So, but he's also open to seeing what the plan is with with MLS. So to me, the ones that I think get impacted are like the Bold because they have a relatively young academy.
Yeah.
Even RGVs, I think they're a successful academy, but I think the perception is, or at least in my perception, and I could be 100% wrong, is because RGV is the affiliate of, or of the Dynamo,
Mhm.
that it's part of that system, and I don't believe it is, but it's got that kind of tied to it. So I kind of worry about the programs that maybe aren't on the top tier level for that here and where they fall. And yeah, I think, and I said this on our show, is here, I don't have a problem with U.S. Soccer saying, hey, we're disbanding the DA Academy. The problem is they didn't have a plan of what was going to happen.
Mhm.
And that's the shit show that they've left here is, you got MLS, you got USL, you've got all these other little leagues that are trying to pick up the pieces instead of saying, hey, you know, nobody's playing this year anyways. It doesn't matter what the league is. If you had said, hey, we're going to have a transitional year next year, and then 2022, we're gonna actually filter off to a plan where it just seems like, hey, USSF saw, hey, this is an excuse that we've been wanting to dump the DA Academy for a while, because some for that here, which has been the rumors. This isn't
Yeah.
this isn't something that just came out of the blue. This isn't it, but you should have had something set up for it here, and that's the problem that you have, and it not only affects our academies, but you also got the girls, and it affects the whole system, and that's the problem with USSF is they do things half-ass, and they don't think about the repercussions, in my opinion.
Let me just add a quick addendum as far as San Antonio is concerned. SAFC has put a ton of effort, takes a lot of pride in its academy. I know it's something that Tim Holt takes very seriously. The coaching staff does a great job, and so I think from them, the academy system going into kind of the chaos that it is right now is probably is especially disappointing to them,
Mhm.
to SAFC.
I think I do agree with what Harry said at the end in regards to this decision. Maybe they looking at it in some, whether it's financial or performance wise, they made the decision to terminate U.S. Soccer as a DA program and let MLS and left all of these members of the DA scrambling to find out, okay, what's in the future for us now, where are we going to turn now in order to continue our academy programs. As you mentioned, Harry, the USL Academy League doesn't start until next year, and there's still a lot of questions in regards how the MLS one is going to work in and of itself. So uh, I guess it's just, we're not surprised that U.S. Soccer made the decision the way that they did it. it's just like now you're not only affecting, you know, the professionals with your decisions. You're affecting little boys and little girls, you know, that had the dream of, you know, making it to the professional level one day, going through these academy systems, and now you leave them, their coaches, their parents, you know, their organizers with, okay, like, am I going to be able to move on forward from here on out, or what's going to happen? At least
Well,
that's what.
just a quick note. I don't know. Speaking of Austin, if you guys are following Chris Beals
Mhm.
on social media, on Twitter, he's doing a really good job because, as you said, Edson, I mean, it's many teams are scrambling as we speak. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's been more than a week and there's still no plan or whatever else. He's doing a really good job of following Lone Stars,
Mhm.
both the boys and the girls, and they're trying to figure all this out and he's talking to parents and players and all of that. So, I mean, it's a mad scramble right now, and you know, if the elite players, if this elite clubs national league, the ECNL, is going to be an answer, you know, I think that some of that still needs to be figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very educated on the whole situation. So, I mean, I can't say a lot beside assume, but hearing things like that for me is just, you know, USA is pretty much just trying to wash their hands of having to develop anybody. They probably just don't want to deal with it. And more like, you know, kind of like any other professional team, almost like we'll let, you know, we'll just get pros out of the MLS or something like that of that nature. And then the only thing that would scare me about hearing something like that, I guess not scare me, but make me uncomfortable, that gives the chance to MLS to make these academies. And, you know, I don't like the fact that sometimes I hear these things and to me, it just sounds like MLS, at the end of the day, it's almost, I guess it's all of really America. We always want to affiliate. We want to affiliate. We don't want competition in leagues. We always want to affiliate, and it kind of bugs me. And I think that would just open up the door to MLS trying to get USL and smaller academies to start affiliating with them and just becoming a farm system. As much as I love MLB and farm systems, that's a direction that MLS could go just because that academy was disbanded. Like I said, I'm not the most educated person about the whole thing, but that's just the kind of emotion and thought process that I go through when it comes to something like that.
Elvis, in Austin, it looks like Austin FC is starting to fill a lot of the void. So that's something that you guys need to watch and
Yeah,
see how that's
absolutely.
going to develop in
Yeah,
Austin.
no, absolutely. You're right. And I mean, I think that's probably why I get those uneasy feelings is just because we have the big dog right there on our door. And I mean, I don't know how people will take it, but I don't want to be affiliated with that team. I just love competition. I was like, there's nothing wrong with two teams in the same city. There's nothing wrong with two different leagues. There's nothing wrong with it. But here we love affiliated. We love farm systems. We don't like competition when it comes to watching a league spread or anything like
Yeah,
that.
And you
and
Go
recently,
and
ahead,
to
Irving.
me that just I was just saying that just and for kids, you know, I'm not saying that all kids, but a lot of them are very impressionable when you tell them MLS Academy or USL. You know, to a lot of them, you know, it's just because MLS is the big league or whatever the hell here in America, along with MLB and whatever. A lot of people are good, especially kids and parents. Some parents just will gravitate to that. And what about these other academies? Like you said, US Bowls is rather young, and I think they were actually doing pretty good. You know, picking out Beto Avila from there, who actually made it to the senior team. You know, it's you like Harry said. You know, what is this going to do to those academies, especially the young ones? You know, the ones that just starting out.
And I know Edson does RGV, but does a lot with the Dynamo as well with the Peel, his other show that he does. To me, the only drawback that I dislike about this is that it gives more power, and I know we've all kind of hinted at this, to MLS, and it gives them that power structure to be able to lay that hammer if you're not playing their games.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It puts a cap on you, and like I said here, I don't know what the ramifications will be, and MLS is for men. but there's
Yeah.
a whole separate side of this that, for the women and girls that they have no part on. And, and that's the part when, that I think from a federation side, that I think they're dropping the ball. Now, I'm not saying that they need to run the program, but I also don't. I think it should be separate from league specific, so that way you don't have one league that has the power over the others, whether it's on the men's or women's side, unless because NWSL, from my understanding, doesn't really have have those
Yeah.
academies and stuff as of yet. I know like the Dash, kind of affiliation with the Houston Aces, and I'm sure there's probably a little bit with the WPSL and UWS teams throughout the conference. But when you're looking at it, on a macro level, I understand. Hey, maybe running the DA wasn't the right thing, but I don't know if giving the power to MLS is also the right thing. And like I said, Edson, has his toes dipped into both MLS and USL, so he might be able to give a little bit better answers on that.
The way that the Dynamo works is, so the Dynamo have what's their actual MLS academy, their boys only academy, and then they also have the Dynamo Dash Youth Academy, which is completely separate from the MLS Academy. And I believe that Dynamo Dash Academy is the one that's affiliated with, or was affiliated with the DA. So the Dynamo technically had two different academies, going with different as different organizations, and that's pretty much what I kind of know about about this particular subject with the Houston Dynamo. And that's going to be a thing going forward. Then, if MLS is going to be the one that takes control of the Dynamo or of the academy system in the U.S., what's going to happen to these other more independent ones? What's going to happen with NWSL academies? So there's too many questions that U.S. Soccer didn't want, because they didn't feel, or they were not prepared to answer the questions about what's going to happen in the future to these academies, or they just don't care. Frankly,
I don't think that.
To me,
I think they took advantage of the timing. I think that they saw, hey, this was a perfect opportunity to say, hey, we're having to shut down, because they didn't only shut down Step Out of There, they also shut down some of the youth national teams, unless they had a major tournament going on for this year, which is understandable. It's going to happen anyways. Why did you have to make that determination saying, hey, we're stopping immediately? Just like, if there's not going to be, MLS or USL, there sure isn't going to be any academy leagues playing. You're not going to risk the youth like that if they're not going back to school till August anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it was just, it was an easy way out for them to get out of it. And, hey, you guys got, 6 months, what the academy season starts, in August, right? I think, for the next year.
Correct.
So you've got 4 months to piece together for whatever's going to be for 2021.
So with the overlay of the coronavirus, has there ever been a time in American soccer with more questions than there is right now?
I don't think so.
No.
But I honestly think that the problem really isn't about it's the questions, but why do we have so many questions?
Right.
Because our federation has shown time and time again how incompetent they have been when things are normal, and their true incompetence has really come to light when this disruption happened.
Right, and you're not even talking about the U.S. women's national team litigation. So, but that's the point. There wouldn't be so many questions if they had plans and answers.
Correct.
But I do think there is some major changes coming. You look at what's happening in Mexico, where they're eliminating promotion and relegation for 6 years now.
6 years, yes.
6 years now. And, like I said here, I just think there's a lot more under the surface that hasn't came out yet. That there's going to be a lot of changes that when we get closer to 2026, when that World Cup comes around, it's going to, we thought this last 5 years was a huge change. I think there's going to be, more changes now, whether it's for the better or worse, that we'll have to see. But I do think that there's more on the surface here, more under the surface than what they're leading us to believe at this point.
All right, so it's right now. Oh, do you want to say something, Irving?
Oh no, I'm just agreeing with what Harry was saying.
So it's already it's 9 o'clock already. I think we had a really good discussion from the many different topics regarding in USL. Right now, we just want to hear y'all's final thoughts before we wrap up the show, and we'll go ahead and start with Elvis and Irving from the Three Birds Boldcast. Any final thoughts?
Man, now just hopefully, everybody. I don't know. It's hard to, try to piece together everything that's going on right now, especially, no sports, nothing, and I just want to see what have y'all been doing, man? Really, man, because this is tough, man. I mean, the Bold have been trying really hard to try, as far as media, you get to see some of the players' houses, see how they're living, what they're doing around and what they're doing around their house and hanging out. And I mean, I guess that helps, but man, and then this racquetball league started up too, but it just, nothing fills that void, man. And that's basically my thing. Is it's you had that one game, you had that one taste, and depending on what your what club you support, however the outcome was of that first game, man.
All of us beside Edson had a good taste. Well, Edson did not have a good taste.
I don't want to talk about it.
And that's pretty much it. My whole thought is, man, it's just, man, it's just trying to. Hell, even EPL, I'm a big Liverpool fan too. Not watching that soccer, man, it's killing me too, man. It's it's kind of hard, but could be worse for me, I guess you could say. For at least I'm still working, and I hope that everybody out there does all right after all this, man. So appreciate y'all for again having me on, rambling on a little bit there, but appreciate y'all. Go ahead, E.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good conversation. Got some good. Got the wheels turning and everything. And yeah, I mean, fun thoughts I could say is just, just worried about where this is going to lead for our club. I mean, like you said, there's more questions, there's questions with U.S. soccer. I mean, there's plenty of questions with Austin Bold on where we go from here. I mean, I'm hoping they bring back Robert Silva. I hope they bring him back. I mean, I thought he was pretty passionate about the whole thing. Hopefully things come up. I mean, because like Irvin said, I mean, Bobby's, I mean, the whole track is his cash cow. So, I mean, that's all entertainment. It ain't, and then they're saying concerts are going to come back for another year and stuff. So, that's where his biggest money comes from. Because, you only have so many races in a year. He keeps that thing going with concerts. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, I mean, he still keeps it going for us. And hopefully he just doesn't back down. I mean, he's pretty resilient. So I'm hoping he just keeps it all going because, I mean, next year, Austin FC will be here. They'll be starting their league. They'll have everything going. And, I mean, you can't help but know that it's going to be right over the shoulder and they will be, getting some fans. They'll be getting some butts on the seats. I know that.
It's going to impact all of our teams.
Yeah.
Even the Dynamo in Houston, it's going to impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But – yeah, that's what I got.
Steve, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Everybody stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. I can't wait to see all you guys again someday at tailgates, all the supporters groups across the state. And can't wait at some point for us to get back to whatever the new normal is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Harry?
So my final thought's going to be Obviously try to remain active with the club, but all of us, do podcasts and show. Try to put out some content because I think it does help, and it, creeps fan, especially with the fan bases that we have. I know I try to encourage and post other USL podcasts, that I listen to, the many that I do. But I think that's how you can kind of stay involved in the game, and how to support each other, because I think that's the most important, because I think all of us, whether we want to admit it or not, thinks it's going to be a long time before we see soccer again. And even if it's just a half hour, hey, we're getting together and talking the shit with whether EPL or the NFL draft, or just life in general. I think that is an important role that we all play, just trying to keep our fan bases engaged, and for that here. So hopefully we can all still continue to do that. And I've reached out to SAFC to see if possibly we can maybe get some players or coaches on, just which is probably a little bit outside their norm, but it's that type of interaction that I think that helps keep the interest alive, not only with us but more important with with the fan, the hardcore fans, because that's the important thing, is you don't want to lose the hardcore fans, because the average fans will come because it's an entertainment thing, but if you lose hardcore fans, just like in any business, it's harder to replace those than it is to get some average Joe off the street.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to thank every one of y'all for coming in almost at the last second for this show. I know it's been very difficult to I know y'all mentioned it's been pretty difficult to live life without soccer, with us being so used to, oh, Saturday's here or Sunday's here, there's soccer, and I'm gonna watch all the soccer I can. Now we don't have anywhere to turn. We don't have Premier League, we don't have La Liga, we don't have Liga MX, we don't have MLS, and we sure as hell don't have USL. So what do we have to get our fix? Looking at past broadcasts, or playing video games with FIFA. To try to get our soccer fix. But like y'all mentioned, it's not enough. And so, I think it's up to us who have some sort of medium to continue the conversation while the games aren't occurring, to continue to keep this momentum going while this break is happening. I appreciate everyone who is listening right now on our respective podcasts, whether it's the San Antonio, Texas Soccer Roundtable, whether it's Three Birds, a Boldcast, or with us with Down in the Valley. I appreciate all of the support that you, as USL fans, give to us as podcasts. The support we give Copa Tejas, their organizers, Steve, who's here with us, Danielle, who wasn't able to make it this time, but was with us the last time. So
don't
really,
forget Serious Loco out in El Paso.
of course,
Serious Loco.
seriously, Loco, who wasn't able to make it today. But just know that all of us here, we want soccer to stay in our respective cities, especially here in Texas, and but we can't do it without y'all support, without y'all listen, without y'all's feedback in our social media. So thank you all for listening in. On behalf of Down in the Valley, and on behalf of all the podcasts here, we do want to let y'all to ask y'all, be sure to like this podcast. Be sure to share it, with all of your friends, and talk about the San Antonio Texas Roundtable. Talk about the Three Birds Podcast. Talk about Down in the Valley on social media, to get more people, more fans of our teams involved, and help us grow as a member of the media covering your favorite team. So from McAllen, Texas, from San Antonio, and from Austin, we wish you all to be safe out there. Follow the instructions from the health officials. Let's flatten this curve. The sooner we do it, the sooner we can get back to actually watching soccer out on our favorite stadium. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you all for coming in, and we'll see each other on the next Copa Tejas show. Take care.
There we go.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.